Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. Florida's capital isn't the state's largest or most well-known city, but it holds a unique place in its history and governance. From its selection as the territorial capital to the striking contrast between its historic and modern capitol buildings, Tallahassee's story is one of tradition, transition, and political significance. The capital of Florida is Tallahassee, a city deeply rooted in history and political significance. It serves as the county seat of Leon County and stands as the largest city in the Florida Panhandle. With a population of approximately 193,500, Tallahassee is the seventh largest city in Florida and 126th in the United States. Despite not being as populous as Miami or Orlando, Tallahassee plays a crucial role as Florida's political hub, housing the state government, the Florida Supreme Court, and the governor's mansion. It is also home to two major universities, Florida State University and Florida A&M University, making it a prominent college town with a student population of nearly 70,000. Beyond its governmental and educational significance, Tallahassee is a center for legal and lobbying firms, professional associations, and state agencies. In recognition of its civic engagement, the National Civic League awarded Tallahassee the All-American City Award in 2015. However, long before it became Florida's political heart, Tallahassee was home to indigenous cultures that shaped its landscape and history. The area that is now Tallahassee was inhabited by indigenous peoples for thousands of years before European arrival. The Mississippian culture, present from around 1200 AD, left a lasting legacy in the form of large earthwork mounds, several of which still exist at Lake Jackson Archaeological State Park. These mounds, built for ceremonial and political purposes, indicate that the region was a thriving center of Native American life. In the early 1500s, Spanish explorers arrived in Florida, establishing St. Augustine as the first European settlement. In the winter of 1538 through 1539, Hernando de Soto's expedition camped in the Tallahassee area at the Apalachee village of Anhaica. Archaeological findings suggest his camp was within half a mile of where the Florida state capitol stands today. It is also believed that the first recorded Christmas celebration in the present-day United States took place at de Soto's camp in Tallahassee. The name Tallahassee originates from the Muskogean Native American language, meaning old fields or old town. In the 18th and early 19th centuries, as the Creek and Seminole peoples were displaced from Georgia and Alabama, they arrived in the region and adopted the name, referring to the open lands once occupied by the Apalachee. During the First Seminole War, 1817 through 1818, Andrew Jackson led military campaigns in the area. In November 1817, he burned the native village of Foultown to the ground after its leader refused to comply with relocation orders. Jackson returned in March 1818, capturing two Native American leaders. This conflict ultimately contributed to the United States acquiring Florida from Spain in 1821 through the Adams-Onis Treaty. Florida was originally divided into two separate Spanish territories: East Florida, with its capital in St. Augustine, and West Florida, with its capital in Pensacola. When the United States took control of Florida in 1821, the first territorial legislative sessions were held in both cities. However, due to the vast distance between St. Augustine and Pensacola, nearly 400 miles apart, traveling between them was arduous. A new, centrally located capital was needed. In 1824, Tallahassee was chosen because it was roughly midway between St. Augustine and Pensacola. At the time, it was still a small frontier settlement, but it quickly grew into an official town. The first legislative meeting in Tallahassee took place in a crude log cabin, marking the beginning of its role as Florida's permanent capital. The Marquis de Lafayette, a hero of the American Revolution, was granted U.S. citizenship and 36 square miles of land in Tallahassee as part of a reward for his service. His land grant helped shape the city's early development. By 1845, when Florida achieved statehood, a formal Greek Revival-style capital was constructed to serve as the state's legislative seat. Over time, As Florida's population and government expanded, the need for a larger, more modern Capitol building arose. The original Florida State Capitol, completed in 1845, was designed in the Greek Revival style, featuring white columns, a symmetrical facade, and a red and white striped dome added in 1902. This building, now referred to as the Old Capitol, witnessed pivotal moments in Florida's history, including Civil War debates, Reconstruction-era governance, and the state's growth into the 20th century. As Florida's government expanded, the Old Capitol became inadequate for the growing needs of the legislature. In the 1970s, a modern new Capitol complex was commissioned. The current Florida State Capitol, completed in 1977, is a 22-story tower rising 345 feet into the Tallahassee skyline, making it the tallest Capitol building in the United States. Designed by architect Edward Durrell Stone, the new structure is a stark departure from the classical design of its predecessor, embracing modernist and functionalist architecture. Key architectural features of the new Florida State Capitol include a sleek, rectangular, high-rise design intended to reflect the modern era of government. A grand plaza incorporating the preserved Old Capitol at the front, symbolizing Florida's historical continuity. Observation decks on the 22nd floor, offering panoramic views of Tallahassee. Chambers for the House and Senate, located in adjoining low-rise domed buildings flanking the tower. Despite its controversial departure from traditional Capitol designs, the modern structure provides the necessary space for Florida's growing legislature and administrative offices. The Old Capitol, meanwhile, has been meticulously restored to its circa 1902 appearance and now operates as a museum, preserving Florida's political history. During the Civil War, Tallahassee was the only Confederate state capital east of the Mississippi River that was never captured by Union forces. The Battle of Natural Bridge, fought in March 1865, successfully repelled Union troops attempting to seize the city. This makes Tallahassee unique among Southern capitals, as it was neither occupied nor burned during the war. After Reconstruction, the city grew as a center for cotton production and commerce, relying heavily on enslaved labor before the Civil War. Over the years, Tallahassee transitioned from an agricultural hub to a government, education, and research center, fueled by its status as the state capital. Tallahassee's selection as Florida's capital was driven by geography and practicality, but over the centuries, it has become much more than just a midpoint between two cities. Its rich indigenous history, role in Spanish and American expansion, and enduring political importance make it a fascinating chapter in Florida's story. The old and new Capitol buildings stand as testaments to this history, embodying both Florida's heritage and modern governance. Today, Tallahassee remains Florida's political, educational, and historical hub, offering visitors a blend of preserved history, architectural landmarks, and the workings of a dynamic state government. Thanks for spending time with me on the Ancestral Findings podcast. I always enjoy sharing these stories, tips, and discoveries with you. If you haven't already, head over to ancestralfindings.com, where you can download a free genealogy ebook, request a free lookup, and of course enter to win the next book giveaway. It's been an incredible journey together since 1995, and your support through these past 29 years means more to me than words can express. I'm so grateful for this wonderful community of genealogy enthusiasts who continue to inspire me every day. Keep up the great work on your family history research, and may your next find be as exciting as your first. Thank you again for being part of this journey, and as always, happy searching.